A seamless tenancy starts with meticulous preparation.
I'm the ringleader, so listen up.
What an intro, Cleo.
Thank you.
That was wah wah wee wah 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 wah. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. You feel pretty passionate about this topic.
Yes, it is a pet peeve of mine for sure.
And tell us more.
Well, starting the tenancy off with a new tenant and the property, there's a bit of magic involved beforehand. A lot of work goes into it to make sure that there are no issues, well, to try anyway, to make sure there are no issues during the tenancy and having everybody start off on a clean slate and, basically to make sure the tenant's the owner, that we're all happy and it all works out really well.
So the things that you're going to talk about today, this is great for a tenant because they're going to be able to save themselves a world of pain if they fix right. The things we're going to talk about today are great for landlords, because if they can also get this right, it's a world of pain. And I think from what we're talking about off air before, Cleo, what you're saying is if you get these little things right, a lot of little detail things right up front, it makes big things that can potentially go really ugly in the end, disappear by getting them right. So let's work through some of the things that you see that you go, oh my God, I love that when people do that.
Well, I think after the application's been approved, having really clear communication with your tenant on their expectation of the property is super vital. Having things that are included and not included in the property. It goes without say, but some tenants assume, oh, the fridge is staying or the gardens are maintained, or certain things that you don't communicate well at the start can become a massive problem during the tenancy. So I like to have a conversation with my tenants after they've been approved for the property and just say, look, this is what's included at the property. It's completely vacant. You bring all your own appliances, for example. The garden, if it's a big house, if it's maintained, we let them know it's maintained. If it's not, we let them know. You're going to need a mower, you're going to need a whippersnipper, you're going to have to do this on a regular basis, because at the end of the tenancy, this is how it needs to look. And once you have that clear communication, everybody knows what they're getting involved with. That's one of my number one. My number two would have to be definitely the ingoing inspection report that we as agents carry out. It's not a checklist that we just go in willy-nilly for 5 seconds in and out. It takes a lot of time.
How long
Basically,
does it take to do a good ingoing?
good ingoing for a 2-bedroom apartment should take you about 40 minutes. If you're experienced and know what to look at, it can take you longer, and it depends what software you're using as well. Like if you're writing your report hand and paper, or if you're using a real high-tech app on your phone, sometimes they can be fiddly. You're adding comments and rooms and attaching photos, and that can take even longer, than just jotting things down and taking photos. There are lots of different styles, and I've seen lots of different reports from different agencies. The main thing is to know what you're looking for and what to report on. Anyone can go into a room and go white paint, white walls, one light. What I'm looking for, in addition to those things, is what can be an issue when this tenant vacates. That's what's going through my head. Even at the beginning, I'm thinking of the end. So is that spot on the carpet going to be a problem for that owner? Is that going to be something the tenant's going to be disputing? And they're the things that I really hone in on with my photos and my reporting. The aesthetics is obvious to the naked eye. It's those little things that we know, and property managers that have gone to NCAT many times know exactly the layers that are involved in what you need to report on.
How do you know those things, what you're looking out for, that are going to be a problem in the end? Is that because you've been whipped in tribunal and you've got a massive amount of experience? Or like, as a landlord, how do you know that your property manager's done a great job and not done a great job? And is that experience?
I think it does come down to experience, not just trial and error, what you've done in the past. It's also knowing the legislation. We have to be up to date with legislation. We are an industry that's heavily regulated. Knowing what an owner is able to claim against a tenant's bond, for example, is also the responsibility of the property manager to convey to both the tenant and the owner. Wear and tear, that is just such a loose wording that we use, and some tenants will say, well, that's wear and tear, and we're like, well, no, that's dirty, that's not wear and tear. But knowing what wear and tear is and being reasonable, that's another there's some key words that I've learned at NCAT that are really that stick with me when I do ingoings, outgoings, and talking to my owners and my tenants. The tribunal sees a property, for example, because cleaning's a contentious point for ingoings all the time and outgoings. The property needs to be left reasonably clean. Now, my reasonably clean and your reasonably clean could be from a 1 to an 8 difference. My tenants go, well, it was a bit dusty, but it's not dirty. And the tenant, the owner might go, this is, filthy, and it's maybe a 5 out of 10. So we have to be able to convey the reasonably clean, because I have been to NCAT with a photo zoomed in on a speck of dust that you can't even see. And it's hard, to be able to convince either side that their reasonable is their reasonable, so to speak.
And I guess there's a safety for tenants when they're using an agency that they know that they're going to be handled a little bit more professionally when it comes to this preparation we're talking about at the beginning of a tenancy. I think the odds are agency-based preparation, start of tenancies, are going to be a bit smoother in the end than a self-managed one. But I think that even sometimes if the agent that's done that ingoing or done that initial induction into the property, if they're not experienced and they don't have guidance and good supervision, then it can be a bit of a shit fight for the tenant. Even if the tenant's just done all the right things, I think good agent or bad agent starting with a tenancy can actually influence the tenancy as well. As much as great as the landlord is, or as great as the tenants are, these are the things you watch out for, that a pro watches out for.
Definitely. And there's a lot of money involved when things go wrong. It can be a very costly exercise for the owner or the tenant. We try to minimize loss. That's what we do during the tenancy as well, to both sides. Tenant doesn't want their bond touched. Owner doesn't want their property damaged. So we're in the middle to make sure both the bond is intact, both the owner's investment is intact, and that takes a lot of work. So the key point is starting off right and having the right things in place. Everybody knows what's happening, communication, but the documentation to follow up, all of that sort of stuff that we do behind the scenes is what you get with an agency that protects your asset. As a tenant, protects your bond, basically.
So, Cleo, a lot of what I'm hearing today about the start of a tenancy is a responsibility of a great real estate agent. How would on the outset, or on that starting of a tenancy, how as a tenant would I smell a rat or know that, or feel good about the agent that I'm using? And more importantly, if choosing a property manager, how would a landlord know that, okay, these guys have started off on the right foot? So I know we've talked about today a lot of the items that are involved in that. But on that sort of beginning stage, right up front, how do you know?
Look, I think for an owner, not hearing from the property manager for 2 or 3 weeks after your tenant moves in is a good indication. We're not on the phone going, tenant's not happy about this, tenant's not happy about that, they want this, they want that. That's a fail in my eyes on both sides.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
so
cool.
yeah,
And
and
so
look,
that's the
sometimes
landlord.
things.
What
Sorry.
about that's the landlord? What about from the tenant? Same thing.
Similar, but you want to smooth, as a tenancy, you want to smooth entry with all your documents, your rents, set up to come out automatically from your debit provider and things like that. Our property managers and our team go, well beyond helping tenants in that beginning, instance. I've had Leo, who works with me, he's gone to the property, he does extra measuring for their couch, he's gone to, the fridge space, all that sort of stuff. So when the tenant moves in, they've had that little bit of extra help because they've only seen the property once as well. We often take tenants back to the property after the approval stage when it's vacant to make sure that everything is kosher, how they like, their removalist truck can get in here, all that sort of stuff helps with a smooth process. And it's not just having a bunch of keys left at reception for you to just pick up and sort it out yourself. We do try to be, really helpful, with the tenants, because we know that moving in process is a headache.
That's gold. That's gold. Thank you for today. I think you've really given everyone a good heads up on the start of the tenancy. I didn't realise so much went into that right up at the beginning part of the tenancy, and I hope people have today and they know what to watch out for. Anything else you want to say before we go?
No, that's all. I hope everybody has a lovely Thursday. For those coming to our investor night tonight, can't wait to see you all there.
Property Outlook 2024 and Chrissy drinks at Novak at 6 o'clock tonight.
See you there.
See you then. See ya. Take care.
Bye.